These are USOs, unidentified submerged objects. They could be even, perhaps, extraterrestrial.
Have all this going on in one very concentrated spot.
The mysteries of the cosmos have always captivated human imagination. Strange sightings, ancient stories, and recent discoveries make it seem like aliens could be more real than we think. With reports from military officials and scientists, it's harder to ignore the possibility. It makes you wonder, are aliens visiting us? And what have they found? Today, we're going to look at some of the best evidence that aliens might actually exist. Tic Tac UAP. Here's a fascinating story that's considered one of the strongest pieces of evidence suggesting alien life or advanced technology visiting Earth, thanks to reliable military personnel and even actual footage. It all began with the USS Nimitz, a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, during training exercises off the coast of Mexico in November 2004. The U.S. government hides many things from their citizens, even aliens. Recently, an image went viral that showed Joe Biden sitting in a meeting while there was a huge skull of an alien on the table, which is very concerning. Well, it's hard to tell if it's real, but what do you think? On November 10th, the USS Princeton, another ship in the group, detected strange signals on its radar near San Clemente Island. These signals didn't match any known aircraft and kept appearing in groups of 5 to 10 at random. At first, the radar team thought it might be a glitch. So, they turned off the SPY-1 radar system, recalibrated it, and powered it back up. To their surprise, the signals came back stronger than ever. What the radar picked up defied logic. The objects were too fast to be birds, too slow to be planes, and performed maneuvers that seemed impossible, like dropping from 20,000 meters to sea level in just seconds. Some even hovered for hours. The crew spotted tiny, fast-moving objects in the distance through binoculars over the next few days, leaving everyone scratching their heads. Then, on the morning of November 14th, things got even weirder. Fighter jets from Strike Fighter Squadron 41 were in the air for a routine training mission when those strange radar signals appeared again. Lieutenant Douglas Kurth was sent to check out the situation. When he arrived at the location, he noticed a large disturbance in the ocean, like something big was just under the water, maybe a submarine. There was even a submarine from the strike group, the USS Louisville, nearby, so that could have explained it. But what happened next made that theory seem unlikely. 2 other fighter jets, each with 2 crew members, also went to investigate, including one piloted by Commander David Fravor. Both Kurth and Fravor saw the water disturbance, but Fravor thought it looked much bigger than a typical submarine. After Kurth returned to the Nimitz, Fravor and his wingman decided to fly closer for a better look. I've got a clip of Commander Fravor himself explaining what happened that day during his testimony to Congress. It's wild. Let's check it out. Commander David Fravor. As Commander Fravor's team returned to the aircraft carrier, he briefed the next flight crew about what they saw and told them to keep an eye out. This next crew had a high-tech infrared camera system called the Advanced Targeting Forward-Looking Infrared, ATFLIR. The system was operated by Chad Underwood, the weapons systems officer sitting behind the pilot. And seriously, Chad Underwood? If that isn't the most frat boy legend name ever, I don't know what is. Anyway, shortly after they took off, Underwood locked onto something strange on his radar several kilometers away. He later said, "What caught our attention was how the object wasn't following the normal laws of physics." Now let's check out the actual footage they recorded. In the video, you'll notice it starts in infrared, black and white, showing a blurry, oval-shaped object off in the distance. Underwood switches to visible light for a moment, but the object is still hard to make out. So he switches back to infrared and adjusts the zoom a few times. Then all of a sudden, poof! The object shoots off the edge of the screen like it just vanished. Unfortunately, the object was too far away to see with the naked eye, and neither Underwood nor his pilot could make direct visual contact. But here's the wild part. Those strange radar signals kept popping up for at least 2 more days. Skeptics have tried to argue that the footage might just show a plane, but planes don't move like they're immune to gravity. And it's not just a handful of people saying this. Dozens of experienced, high-ranking military personnel have backed up these stories. So, whether you believe in UFOs or not, this incident really makes you think. Commander Fravor and others involved say they saw a longer, higher-resolution version of the video, but it's never been released. In fact, all the footage and data from that day were supposedly erased later that evening. Multiple witnesses from both ships claimed 2 men arrived by helicopter, collected everything, and wiped all tapes and hard drives. They'd never seen anything like it before. This has led to speculation about some kind of cover-up. Could the government already know about alien life or advanced technology and just not want the public to find out? Maybe they think revealing it would cause mass hysteria, or they don't want foreign adversaries to learn about it. Another possibility is that what the crew saw wasn't alien at all, but super-secret military tech, like experimental drones or aircraft, that they're trying to keep under wraps. But even if the military is developing incredible new technology, gravity-defying tic-tac-shaped crafts still sound a bit too wild to believe, right? Fravor estimated the strange object was about 12 to 15 meters long and described it as looking exactly like a tic-tac. So now the real question. Were these tic-tacs just solid and featureless, like the classic UFOs we've heard about? Or could there have been cockpits inside, with alien pilots flying the thing and taking off once they realized they'd been spotted? We might never know the answer. One thing's for sure, though. This wasn't just a one-off event. There's more to this story, and it really makes you wonder what else is out there. The secrets of Area 51. Area 51, the heart of nearly every alien conspiracy out there. With all the buzz about secret experiments and extraterrestrial research happening at this mysterious military base, it's hard not to wonder if there's some truth to it. Just ask Bob Lazar. According to him, the answer is a big, bold yes. Back in the late 1980s, Lazar says he was hired for a wild mission at Area 51, reverse engineering alien spacecraft. In 1997, he claimed that the craft he worked on used an antimatter reactor powered by a stable form of element 115. What's wild is that element 115 wasn't officially created by scientists here on Earth until 2003, and even now we can't keep it stable for long. Lazar said the reactor he studied had a basketball-sized sphere on top that emitted a force field strong enough to repel human touch. He described the craft as having 2 levels. On the upper level, the reactor sat in the center, connected to an antenna, with 3 gravity amplifiers surrounding it. These amplifiers shaped gravity waves into a heart-like form around the ship, narrowing toward the bottom. On the lower level were gravity emitters, which could rotate to create an anti-gravity wave. Lazar said the saucers actually fly sideways, belly first, by riding these gravity waves, letting them zip around in any direction. If that wasn't mind-blowing enough, Lazar claimed he had read briefing documents at the base saying Earth had been interacting with extraterrestrials, described as small, childlike gray aliens, for at least 10,000 years. He even claimed to have seen some alien cadavers himself. But here's where things get complicated. Every organization he says he worked for, including Area 51, has denied ever employing him. Still, George Knapp, a journalist who looked into Lazar's claims, pointed out that Lazar knew details about the base that only an insider could know. Some say it's part of a cover-up. Others think Lazar is just an overhyped techie. But let's not forget, the guy once built a jet-powered car just for fun, and he'd been featured in newspapers for his engineering skills, so he's clearly no amateur. One particularly strange part of Lazar's story involves a biometric hand scanner at Area 51. According to him, the scanner measured the length of your hand bones to verify access. The government denied using such tech, until, years later, they admitted that the Department of Defense did use it during the 80s for the stealth fighter program. Lazar even confirmed that the declassified scanner matched exactly what he remembered using. If the government really wanted to discredit Lazar, they could have just said, sure, he worked here, but he's lost it now. Instead, they insist he was never there at all. Why? It's not to say Lazar's story is 100% true, but there are too many coincidences for people to brush it off completely. So is Bob Lazar telling the truth? Well, he's stuck to the same story for over 30 years, and even passed lie detector tests about it. Critics love to point out that Lazar has been convicted of crimes since coming forward, trying to use that to discredit him. But really, who knows? After hearing some of the other UFO sightings coming up, you might start thinking Lazar isn't as crazy as he sounds. Cube object. Remember how I mentioned that the Tic Tac incident wasn't a one-off? Well, something very similar happened on the southeastern coast of the US in early 2015. Although the people who filmed it haven't come forward, a few crewmates and other pilots shared some details. And here's the story. About 10 years after the 2004 Tic Tac encounter, a naval strike group led by the aircraft carrier USS Theodore Roosevelt was conducting training exercises off the coast of Virginia. Just like the earlier incident, their radars started picking up strange signals. At first, they thought it was some sort of equipment glitch, but these objects were pulling off impossible maneuvers, moving at hypersonic speeds and seemingly unaffected by gravity. After thoroughly checking their gear, the team knew these readings had to be legit. Early attempts to intercept the objects didn't work out, but things escalated when two jets came dangerously close to colliding mid-air after something shot right between them. The pilots involved in the near miss have stayed quiet, but another F-18 pilot, Lieutenant Ryan Graves, spoke with one of them. According to Graves, the pilot was clearly rattled by what they saw. Graves later shared details about this encounter during a UAP hearing in Congress. Let's check out what he had to say. Lieutenant Ryan Graves. This time, the object was described as a cube inside a translucent sphere. Now, it's easy to imagine how both pilots must have been shocked. There wasn't much time to process exactly what they saw in that brief encounter. For fun, I've made a few mock-up images of what the craft could have looked like, and yes, I threw in some tiny aliens for kicks. The pilots never said they saw any aliens, but hey, it's fun to imagine, right? Lieutenant Ryan Graves later explained that this wasn't a one-off encounter. He said similar objects were seen by dozens of pilots over several months. Even crazier, these objects could stay in the air for up to 12 hours straight. A few months later, in 2015, when the USS Theodore Roosevelt had moved down near the coast of Florida, something else happened. During a separate incident, the pilots managed to capture a new clip, and it left everyone involved totally stunned. The clip. What's really fascinating about this clip is that the craft seemed to rotate and fly sideways, just like Bob Lazar described with the UFOs he worked on. The object even had a heart-like shape, matching Lazar's description of how the crafts he reverse-engineered manipulated gravity. Now, some skeptics argue that the rotation we see in the video is just an optical illusion caused by the camera's derotation mechanism. But here's the thing. The two pilots who saw it don't buy that explanation. If anyone could recognize image rotation, it would be them, right? Both pilots are convinced that the craft really did rotate. Even Jeremy Corbell, an expert on the ATF-LIR camera system, said it wasn't an illusion. Plus, no one has been able to explain how a whole fleet of these objects could move crosswind at such incredible speeds. Speaking of UFO videos, it's worth talking about the guy who made these clips public. Luis Elizondo. He was in charge of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, AATIP, a secret government project studying UFO sightings. In 2017, Elizondo got fed up and resigned, saying that some people in the government are dead set against UFO research. According to him, they didn't even care about investigating something that could pose a serious national security threat. Many military personnel agree with Elizondo, saying these sightings happen a lot more than the public knows. But many pilots keep quiet out of fear of being labeled crazy, which could hurt their careers and chances of promotion. That stigma is probably why the government started using the term UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, instead of UFO, to avoid the baggage that comes with talk of aliens, spaceships, and abduction stories. Lieutenant Ryan Graves summed it all up perfectly during his speech to Congress. The stigma around UFOs, he explained, is still alive and well, and it's part of the reason sightings like these often get ignored. Lieutenant Ryan Graves. In 2021, the U.S. Office of the Director of National Intelligence dropped a preliminary report on UAPs, and its findings are seriously unsettling. The report looked at 20 years worth of data, mostly from U.S. Navy encounters, and concluded they have no clue what these things are. The UAPs were described as breaking the sound barrier without a sonic boom, moving without any visible form of propulsion, and flying with speeds and agility that would destroy any known aircraft. The report confirmed that these objects were real physical things and admitted they could pose both safety risks and national security threats. The witnesses who've come forward are some of the most credible you could hope for, and their stories align in ways that are hard to ignore. But the most jaw-dropping testimony came from David Grush, a former intelligence officer during a congressional hearing in 2023. Grush dropped bombshells, claiming the U.S. government has made contact with alien species, recovered crashed spacecraft, and even found the remains of non-human pilots. As if that wasn't wild enough, he also warned that some of these alien species might be hostile, which could mean we're in serious trouble. So why haven't we heard about any of this until now? Well, according to Grush, the answer is exactly what you'd expect: a massive cover-up. He said the government has gone to extreme lengths to hide the truth, even going after people who tried to expose it. Honestly, if Grush ever goes missing, we might have an idea where to start looking. Of course, the government denied everything, like they always do. But Grush, while under oath during the hearing, doubled down on his claims, saying the cover-up is real. And yes, the government has recovered non-human remains. David Grush. Unfortunately, Grush couldn't answer many questions publicly due to legal restrictions, but he did say he was willing to share more details with members of Congress behind closed doors. Who knows what kind of secrets he might reveal? So, what do you think? Is this the most convincing evidence of alien life we've seen so far, or just someone trying to grab their 15 minutes of fame? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Skinny Bob. Most fake alien encounters feature blurry, low-quality photos of distant flying objects. That's because faking a close-up alien would take serious money, time, and skill. Which brings us to Skinny Bob, a total mystery. And no, that's not the name of my weird uncle. It's the name of an alleged alien. Let me explain. In 2011, a Reddit user named Ivan posted a strange video, claiming it was footage from the KGB. The clip shows Skinny Bob, and honestly, it's pretty unsettling. What are we even looking at here? Could this actually be real? According to Ivan, the alien in the video was part of a diplomatic mission from the Zeta Reticuli star system, sent to discuss matters of mutual concern. Whatever those matters were, we'll never know. But supposedly, this footage is part of an interview with the being. Now here's where things get even more interesting. Visual effects expert Randy Sharp, who worked on movies like I Am Legend and Watchmen, analyzed the video. He said that if it's fake, it would have been a real challenge, even with the tech available in 2011. Pulling it off would require someone with insane skills and could have cost around $250,000 to make. Here's the kicker. No one has ever claimed credit for the video or tried to make money from it. So if it was an elaborate hoax, it doesn't really add up. Is Skinny Bob the real deal then? Who knows? All we can do is keep an eye out for him in case he pops up in another video, or maybe even a movie. The Phoenix Lights. So far, we've looked at some well-known UFO sightings, but nothing can compare to the number of people who reported seeing what's known as the Phoenix Lights. These were two events that took place on the evening of March 13, 1997, in the skies over Nevada and Arizona. The first event kicked off around 7:30 p.m., when a witness in Henderson, Nevada, spotted a series of glowing orbs in the sky. These lights slowly traveled across state lines to Phoenix, Arizona, covering nearly 300 miles and witnessed by thousands, including actor Kurt Russell. The lights formed a V-shape, and some people claimed they could even see the craft itself through the clouds before it passed over the city and vanished without a trace. Crazy, right? And it gets even stranger. Around 10 p.m., many folks in Phoenix reported seeing another row of bright lights hovering in the sky. UFO skeptic Robert Schieffer claims these lights came from two separate U.S. Air Force training exercises with A-10 jets. One exercise had the planes flying in a triangle formation, while the other involved them firing flares. That sounds like a reasonable explanation, but not everyone agrees. In 2007, former Arizona Governor John Fife Symington III, who also witnessed the lights, spoke out about what he saw. As a pilot, he believed he knew every type of aircraft. and he insisted that what he saw that night was unlike anything he recognized. He didn't just dismiss the official explanation, he called for a deeper investigation into the event. So even after all these years, we still don't have a clear answer about the Phoenix Lights. For now, it seems like the mystery is still very much up in the air. Oumuamua. Uninvited guests can be a real bother, right? Well, back in 2017, our solar system had a particularly strange visitor, a mysterious red object estimated to be between 300 and 3,000 feet long, zoomed past the sun. Scientists named it Oumuamua, which is Hawaiian for a messenger from afar arriving first. It's an apt name since it was the first object of its kind we've ever spotted, and its sudden arrival had astronomers buzzing with excitement and a bit of nervousness. Just what was this thing? Oumuamua had a cigar shape and was traveling at an incredible speed of up to 55 miles per second. That's 20 miles per second, faster than your average comet. But unlike comets, this object had no visible tail of space dust trailing behind it. It zipped through our solar system for 11 days before disappearing, never to be seen again. Curious, right? Given its unusual characteristics, many people quickly shouted, "Alien!" And it's easy to see why. It seemed to defy explanation. However, some folks have tried to make sense of it. Some theorized that Oumuamua was a block of solid hydrogen, while others were convinced it was just a weirdly behaving comet. Scientists have come up with a mix of ideas, suggesting it was a comet filled with hydrogen ice. Remember how much faster it was than regular comets? NASA scientists believe that when Oumuamua passed close to the sun, the heat released hydrogen from the comet, giving it that extra speed. They also think there was no tail because hydrogen doesn't have enough weight to drag space dust along with it. So, what do you think? Was Oumuamua just a big old space rock, or is there something more mysterious at play? If it were an alien spaceship checking us out, do you think our governments would keep it under wraps to avoid mass panic? Crystal clear. Let's be honest, UFO photos usually look like they were taken with a toaster. They're either super blurry or look nothing like UFOs. But hold on to your hats because I'm about to show you something amazing. The Calvine photo, which is often called the clearest UFO picture ever taken. This incredible image was snapped in 1990 in Scotland by two young chefs. It shows a strange diamond-shaped object flying in front of a regular plane. The chef sent the photo to a newspaper, but instead of publishing it, the paper handed it over to the British Ministry of Defense, and then it vanished for a whopping 30 years. In 2020, British journalist David Clark finally found it. He'd first heard about the story in 2009, but had been searching for the actual photo ever since. Eventually, he connected with a former Royal Air Force officer who had kept a print of the picture. This officer had been waiting for someone to reach out about it for years, so he was happy to share it. Unlike many other UFO sightings, this one is tough to debunk. Andrew Robinson, a senior photography lecturer at Sheffield Hallam University, analyzed the photo and confirmed that whatever that object is, it's genuinely there in front of the camera. No editing tricks involved. The RAF officer also mentioned that when the photo was taken, the witnesses said the craft made no noise at all. Strange, right? As for who the witnesses were, we don't know. Although the names and the original photo were supposed to be released in 2021, British authorities have decided to keep them under wraps until 2076, citing privacy concerns. Seems a bit suspicious, don't you think? The Turkish UFO incident. While many UFO sightings have gained a lot of attention and sparked heated debates over the years, some lesser-known cases deserve the spotlight, like the Turkish UFO incident. Between 2007 and 2009, 12 different witnesses came forward saying they saw a strange metallic craft in the skies off the northwest coast of Turkey, and they didn't just talk about it, they filmed it. Sure, the footage is shaky, but if we zoom in on one of the sightings, you can actually see two figures moving around inside the craft. Authorities quickly tried to brush off these sightings as a hoax, but that turned out to be a tough sell. When some of the most shocking footage was reviewed by two different state-sponsored boards, they couldn't find anything to dismiss it. In fact, they concluded that the footage was genuine. Now, that doesn't mean they were convinced it was aliens. However, they did confirm that the clip wasn't edited and that the craft didn't match any known human technology. Pretty wild, right? Honestly, it surprises me that this case hasn't received more attention. You can almost picture the two pilots inside having a debate about whether they should stop and ask for directions. Ant abducted. On a quiet night in October 1957, Antonio Villas-Boas, a 23-year-old farmer from Brazil, decided to work in his fields to avoid the heat of the day. While he was busy, he noticed a strange red light in the sky. At first, it looked like a star, but it kept getting bigger and bigger until he realized it was headed right for him. Panic set in, and Antonio tried to escape on his tractor, but it wouldn't start. So he took off running through the fields. But something was chasing him, and it was fast. Before he knew it, several humanoid creatures tackled him and dragged him onto their spaceship. Once aboard, they stripped him naked and covered him in some weird gel. Then they took a blood sample from his chin and left him alone in a locked room filled with gas that made him feel sick. Just when he thought things couldn't get any weirder, a naked female alien entered the room and, well, let's just say she seduced him. After a rather unusual encounter, he was given a quick tour of the spaceship before being dropped back home. Sounds wild, right? This is supposedly a true story, told by Antonio himself. At first, many people were skeptical, and it's understandable. However, shortly after his experience, he saw a doctor and was diagnosed with radiation sickness. Now, that doesn't automatically mean his story is true, but it does raise some questions about how he could have gotten sick. Antonio stuck to his story until he passed away in 1991. So, was he really abducted by aliens, or was it all just a way to get attention? Unfortunately, we may never know the answer. The Baikal Enigma. Lake Baikal is a fascinating place. It's the oldest and deepest lake in the world, reaching a staggering depth of about 5,400 feet. Just to put that in perspective, you could stack two replicas of the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world, right on top of each other in there. Because of its age and depth, the lake is surrounded by many legends and has been the site of numerous reports of strange happenings. Over the years, people have seen all sorts of odd lights, mysterious craft, and even figures lurking along the shore. In 2009, a man named Sergei Konechnik and his son were enjoying a sunset by the lake when they spotted two glowing orbs rising up from the water. Sergei even managed to take a picture of these eerie lights before they disappeared beneath the surface, proving that something unusual was happening. But the weirdness doesn't stop at the surface. In 1982, a group of Russian military divers reported encountering tall humanoid creatures while diving about 160 feet deep in Baikal. They tried to capture one of these beings, but instead, the creatures forcefully pushed the divers back to the surface. This rapid ascent can cause decompression sickness, commonly known as the bends, which can be fatal. Tragically, some of the divers died shortly after surfacing. Now, while some of these stories might sound a bit far-fetched, the combination of Sergei's photo and the many strange tales about Lake Baikal makes you wonder if there's something more to it. There's definitely an air of mystery surrounding this incredible lake. MIB. You know those Men in Black movies? They're fun, except for that bad spin-off. But did you know they're inspired by a real-life phenomenon that's pretty creepy? When people report seeing UFOs or other extraterrestrial activity, they sometimes get visits from real-life Men in Black, and it's not Will Smith knocking at their door. Instead, there are reports of mysterious men dressed all in black who track down witnesses, intimidating them into silence, or, in some cases, making them vanish altogether. One particularly strange incident happened in 2009 and was caught on camera. It took place in a hotel in Ontario, Canada, where two weird-looking guys in black strolled into the lobby. They had no eyebrows or eyelashes, and it looked like they were wearing wigs under their hats. The bizarre pair was identical in appearance. Witnesses said they started grilling the bellboy about the manager, Shane Sovar. When the bellboy told them Shane wasn't there, they didn't believe him and began snooping around as if they owned the place. Whatever they were after, they never found it. Eventually, they just vanished and were never seen again. So why were they there? Well, Shane had reported seeing a large triangular UFO over Niagara Falls the year before. He had mostly forgotten about it, but it seems someone hadn't. Creepy, right? Most UFO enthusiasts think the Men in Black are government agents trying to suppress news about alien sightings. But what if there's something more? No hair at all, identical looks, maybe they're aliens themselves. Wouldn't it make sense for them to keep their existence a secret while they go about whatever they do? Uh-oh, I think I see two guys in black suits coming my way right now. So, what do you think? Are these sightings and testimonies legitimate proof of alien life, or just the result of mass hysteria and speculation? The evidence we've covered today is just the tip of the iceberg. The mystery surrounding extraterrestrials is far from solved. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos.